This is a leather cased set for writing, and it's very interesting for both its owner and the curious questions that the hallmarks raise. So let's zoom in a little bit on it and have a closer look. As we can see from the interior of this lid, somebody has put a label in describing the set, and I would imagine that's probably fairly recent. We haven't bothered to take it out. It's probably going to cause more damage doing so to the case. But it describes it as this travelling ink writing set once belonged to the Redesdale family, silver gilt, assayed in London in 1834, and then it goes on to describe the crest and the motto to the top. Well, they've got it mostly right, but not completely right on the assay dates. If we start with the inkwell first of all, now it's possible that this one is hallmarked for 1834. The mark is difficult to read because of where it's been stamped. It's possible a T for 1834, but the one next to it isn't. It's definitely 1836. And we know that all four pieces were made by Frances Douglas, who was the wife of Archibald Francis, who died in 1874, a year after two of these were made. And I say two of them because these two are hallmarked for 1874, which throws up a little bit of a question. So let's go through the inkwell first of all. So it's a fairly standard travelling inkwell, apart from the fact that it stands out for the crest to the top and the fact that it's in silver gilt. You've got a bolt down lid, unscrews to open, a pad to the top to form a nice seal on the lid. Now, at some stage, I think the bottle to this inkwell has been replaced. All of the other bottles have got a star cut to the glass underneath. Glass is a little bit of a different colour, and the plaster seal to the inside is different to the rest of them. So there's your inkwell. Next to it, we've got a pen wipe. So basically, you have got a sponge in there. And when you want to clean your pen when you're writing, you would wipe it on that sponge. And to the side, we can see the hallmarks there for 1836, London. This is a light box, so you've got a push button there to open it up. You've got two little grooves here, just big enough to get your nail under, so you can light it up, lift it up rather, and you can get to the vestas or matches on the inside. You'd then strike one of them on this serrated pad here and stand it in this little holder, and you can use it to light your sealing wax or melt your little sealing wax discs if that's what you're using. And then finally you have this little desk tidy box here, and that might be where you kept your sealing wax discs or perhaps some stamps or paper clips or something like that. So you can see some hallmarks to the interior there, and this is also hallmarked. So these two are 1874. So that begs the question of why there is such a difference in their age, very close to 40 years. Well, there can be a couple of reasons. Perhaps these two were owned by the Redesdale family first of all, and they were part of a writing slope, portable desk, that got damaged or they got separated from it, and then later they went back to Francis Douglas and they added these two pieces. Another theory might be that they're all bought at the same time, and these two were pieces of old stock that Francis Douglas had kept. But 40 years is quite a long time for that, really, so that would be surprising. But something funny has gone on there, and I think probably this leather case was made for all four of them when these two were bought round about 1874. And funnily enough, that's also the date that the owner, Algernon Bertram Mitford, got married, 1874. And these are his initials to the top, A.B.M. And he was born in 1837, so a year after these two were made, and lived until 1916. His father separated from his mother when he was 3 years old, and his father lived in France and Germany, so he was probably quite used to travelling. At the age of 21, Barty, as he was known, joined the Foreign Office as the third secretary to the British Embassy at St. Petersburg. He then later went on to work in Shanghai and travelled to Japan in 1866 as second secretary to the British legation. And really, it was Japan where he became very much enamoured with their history and customs. So much so that later in life he wrote a number of books on Japan, and he also advised Gilbert and Sullivan when they were writing The Mikado. In 1886, Barty Mitford inherited the substantial Gloucestershire estates of his cousin John Freeman Mitford, the first Earl of Redesdale. And so he moved to the estates, and that Redesdale estate, Batsford, is 4 or 5 miles from where we are here in the shop. He became a farmer, a magistrate. He developed an interest in photography and became president of the Royal Photographic Society. And he also became a member of Parliament for Stratford-on-Avon between 1892 and 1895, so quite a brief tenure. But he had quite an interesting history, and he was grandfather of the famous Mitford sisters. And also, gossip would have it that he was the father of Churchill's wife Clementine, whose mother Blanche was Barty's wife's sister. So a little bit of upper class gossip for you there. So this is an interesting set because of a curiosity of a difference in those hallmarks. And I think it probably is something as simple as these two were owned by the family first. Perhaps Barty Mitford inherited these two in 1874 or shortly before that. He then added to the set from the same silversmith, Francis Douglas, by adding these two and getting the leather case made, and at the same time got his crest engraved to the top. And thank goodness that he did, because having that crest on the top tells us who owned this set, the places it might possibly have travelled to, the books that it might have been used to write, and it brings it more alive. It puts it into context. We know who the owner was. We know what he did, what sort of a life he had, and where he lived. They were a very, very rich family. Their Gloucestershire estates are huge. And that kind of fits in with the quality of the work that we have here. Frances Douglas, who took over the business from her husband, although she was working at the same time as him, was a good silversmith. Her two sons also became silversmiths, and the company enjoys quite a nice reputation. So that all fits in nicely. So we've got to date it really from the latest dates, 1874 as a whole, although these two are, of course, nearly 40 years younger. And quite an interesting little travel leather cased writing set. It's on our website with lots of photographs and a bit more of a write-up on it, and you can see it there.